How many cowboys we got out in the house tonight? All right, then, this is for you. Saddle up, baby.
40 years ago, Bon Jovi released their very first record, and since then, they've been one of the best-selling, most enduring rock bands the world has ever seen. Their success is so consistent and so far-reaching, it's easy to imagine that it came easy. That the young John just picked up a guitar and became the biggest rock star in the world. It was inevitable. But it wasn't easy, and it wasn't inevitable. Illness, fatigue, conflict, and chaos have pushed Bon Jovi to the very limit. But through it all, they've kept going and made music that's become a soundtrack to our lives. Here to tell us all about it is Jon Bon Jovi.
My life. Well, well, well.
So that's you.
There's your life flashing before your eyes.
John, when I sat down to research this, the two words that came to me were graft and brotherhood, and in equal parts for me, for Bon Jovi. Would that be accurate for you?
Absolutely. There is and was a camaraderie and a deep commitment to the collective we.
Yeah.
You set out to achieve something that many have done. Few have had 40 plus year careers.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go way back. Take a look at our first clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome along to the programme. The Old Grey Whistle Test tonight from the Shepherd's Bush Television Theatre. Give them a really warm welcome. Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes.
Oh, I love that son of a bitch. Oh yeah, I know every man's name.
You know every single one of these guys?
Rosenberg, Bobby Muckin. Oh, fuck, you damn right I do. There he is.
You can't slow me down when I come too far to live. Turn back now. I spent my whole life working so hard for you. Yes, I did.
That was the Jukes, baby. That's all I wanted to be.
Okay, let's talk about these guys. So this is Southside Johnny and the Jukes. That's from the... That's from the 22nd of November, Old Grey Whistle Test. Bob Harris introducing it, 1977. Music aficionados would know these guys, but they're not household names.
Correct.
So, and I didn't know these guys. So tell me about Southside Johnny and why they were so important to you growing up in New Jersey.
Well, for a number of reasons. One, first and foremost, they were 25 miles south of my hometown.
Yeah.
The music inspired me, it moved me, it was soul music, it was R&B, it was rock and roll. They were unique to what they were wearing three-piece suits. This was an R&B soul band with a House of Fire as a lead singer.
Yeah.
You could see that I stole a lot from him.
Yeah. I mean, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band were putting New Jersey on the map at the time. And, you know, and everyone obviously adores Bruce. But you wanted to be in this band, is that right? This is the band you
There was something that drew me to him. You could see his stage mannerisms are very much me.
Yeah.
You know, and so John and I don't know, I had a connection as much to him as I did to the E Street Band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that inspiration in a big brother is integral to my story. Now here's a cute story. There were 10 Asbury Jukes, 10. 7 members of the E Street Band. Chances are you're going to walk into one of the bars on the Jersey Shore, one of them is going to be there.
Right.
So now you could touch Santa Claus in 17 different times, which made the impossible seem possible because they were in your backyard. It wasn't like we were going to run into Elton or Freddie Mercury or Robert Plant on the Jersey bar scene. By the time I was graduating high school in 1978, 79, I was emulating them, playing things like Southside's music or Bruce's music or R&B or soul music. It was great.
It's got to be.
But even at that early age, I realized, oh, I just look like the Muppets version. You had to stop playing other people's music and start to play your own.
Yeah. All right. Next clip, please.
Oh my God.
I don't care about anything but today.
Where'd you get this?
Right? This is John Bon Jovi and the Wild Ones.
So I'm probably 18 or 19. This is on UHF television. This is before, just at the advent of what would become cable TV.
Okay.
This is before cable TV. The baffles behind the band there. You know, you're probably in an office building and they're shooting it on a little TV channel.
Yeah. So you're now songwriting or?
So I realized very early on, it's a dead end street playing covers. So I say, I'm gonna quit my own cover band and learn how to write. And so that's one of the first things I've ever written.
Come on, baby, get on the sheets. Let's get down to it.
And were any record labels coming to watch you play in New Jersey?
No, New Jersey was not a destination. It was an afterthought. It was
Which is crazy, it was only like an hour away.
correct. But why would you leave the bright lights of the big city? You know, it was that, it also played into who and what we all were, is that we could cut our teeth out in the burbs and then take it to the bright lights.
Yeah. But how elemental is that time for you?
You're learning your craft.
Yeah.
I wasn't particularly good, but looking back at that, I wasn't particularly bad.
Yeah.
I was pretty good. That was all right. And you were just studying the process. And so I had the opportunity to learn how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't have a band, I didn't have a record deal. They were all like guys that were playing with me. And I was forging my own path.
And then that path took you to New York, right?
The second cousin of mine, which I'd never met in my life, owned a very famous recording studio. And I called him after I graduated high school. And he said, Gio, come to the studio, you know, we'll pay you $50 a week and you can run errands.
Yeah. But you correct me if I'm wrong, you had a lot of good experience while you were working there.
Visual experiences for sure. I got to witness some of the biggest stars on the planet. You know, the Stones and the E Street Band and Diana Ross and Devos. You know, did I really see Bowie and Freddie Mercury in that window doing Under Pressure? And I could do demos on weekends and nights, and they just basically kept a tab of what I would owe them when it was done.
So how did you get to that next level?
Well, I wrote Runaway.
With Runaway, how difficult was that to get out there?
So I started writing letters to record companies, A&R people,
Yeah.
people whose credits you'd see on the back of a vinyl record. I'm sending
That
it to
cold, there's no other in.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
How was you supposed to know anybody?
On the street where you live, girls talk about the social life.
So you start sending these cassettes around, no response from anybody anywhere. One day, a brand new radio station in New York City was opening, and it was so new they didn't have a receptionist. And I thought, I'm gonna go and see a DJ and see what he thinks of the song. What a crazy thought, but it was a brilliant thought. And I got in the car and I drove out there and was able to knock on the window, and the guy, the DJ, is going, shush, I'm working here. They heard the song and said, you know, it's a hit song. I said, I know. Nobody else seems to believe so, but I did. Then it was on the 8 radio stations that were owned by the same chain. So now you're getting airplay in Chicago and Detroit and Tampa, New York, without a record deal.
Yeah.
And then, the phone rang.
What was that moment like?
Well, Atlantic offered me a deal, but the deal was so shite that I was like, Nah, you know. And the representation I had at the time knew somebody at Polygram, and Polygram at the time said, yeah, we'll beat it. And 41 years later, I'm still with the same label.
So, you've got a deal, your songs all over the radio. Where did you find the other band members?
Alec was in one of those bands that was making $3,000 a night, and driving a nice car, and he had money. Tico was in a band that was making records called Frankie and the Knockouts. So he had a record deal, he had a wife, he had a house.
Yeah.
Then Dave was going to university, he had a career path, and then Alec knew Richie, and he said, you should come and see this guy, John. He's got something going on. And I hit it off with Richie. So these guys were living a lifestyle.
You had to make that choice.
I would go to some of these guys and say, I have a song on the radio. Would you like to be in my band? Guy would pull up in his brand new Corvette, and you'd like, I'm in a 1963 Buick Special with a hole in the floor, but I've got a bigger vision.
She's a little runaway.
And so that was the band.
Well, let's take a look at the next clip.
Okay.
So this is Tokyo Super Rock, on the 11th of August, 1984.
We are the opening act on this festival. We're in Japan on our first record.
Yeah. But these early days,
Yeah.
like you said, you're opening this bill.
Yeah.
So you're out, you have to kill it when you go out there. And you being either the opener or the support act.
You have to
when
win
you're first
hearts.
starting out, right? Exactly.
You have to win hearts.
But how hard are those, like, you know what rock fans are like? They're so kind of
We
territorial.
would be thrust into situations that weren't the kind of music that was my favorite stuff. So, opening for a band called the Scorpions. But in truth, I never bought a Scorpions record in my life. So we were thrust into bills by our first manager. He said, no, you got to go cut your teeth, and put me on bills with Judas Priest. I never bought a Judas Priest record. I liked Southside Johnny. But I knew how to get my ass kicked by that crowd, and then I know how to fix that.
Yeah.
Go with the Scorpions and go, oh, I know how to win that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, Tokyo! Okay, now I'm gonna say, come on, come on. And you and my band have got to yell, get ready. Okay? Here we go. Come on, come on. Get ready. Pretty good. Well, come on. Get ready.
We learned a lot about how to be arena and stadium performers, and all of that made us even better.
Because you'd done your apprenticeship by the time.
I was doing it all here. Yeah.
And those first two albums, Bon Jovi and Fahrenheit, they do okay.
Yeah.
But they don't set the world alight. So by then, were you worried about getting dropped or anything
No,
like that?
I
or-
wasn't, because we were pretty good, to be honest. We could sing, we could play.
Yeah.
We weren't bad. We could do this. But from afar, I was seeing that LA hair band scene being far more successful. I was
What did you
watching
call it, LA Hair Band? That's
yeah,
amazing.
Motley Crue and
Yeah,
Rat
yeah,
and those kind of things that, again, we were thrust into because of the way we looked, and we were of that age.
But it's funny because, like you say, you're absolutely right. You're far more working bar band.
Absolutely.
East Coast work ethic, blue collar.
Absolutely. And I
Blue
knew
collar
that
ethic.
stuff. I knew the music, and I knew how to play it, and I knew
Yeah.
how to sing it.
Yeah.
And eventually I learned how to write it. We were thrust into situations that were a byproduct of the management, the times, and it was okay. Okay, fine. We'll go cut our teeth here. but there was another treasure trove that nobody was realizing.
Going to stick with the Americans now, but they're not in New Jersey tonight. They're right here in the Top of the Pops studio. Singing You Give Love a Bad Name, this is Bon Jovi.
Dry Ice is like a bomb going off.
Top of the Pops was the worst. You sat there all day to lip sync. It was painful.
I was literally about to go to ask you, how special was Top of the Pops?
Painful.
I mean, I'm showing you this because it was this song and this album that made you global superstars.
Yeah, this is where we did Over the Top Everywhere. It was Slippery. Yeah, it was that famous third album.
That you have a #1 sales.
Because back then you had the time to establish roots, to
For sure.
to meet DJs who could be influential around the world, and so yeah, it took 3 albums.
I'm in love with John Bon Jovi and they're marvellous.
Bon Jovi are the fucking greatest, and they're gonna kick some ass and go and
They're brilliant.
Excellent, mega, best band going.
It felt like, hang on, this is like proper rock, but it's got working class anthems on it, it's got ballads on it. It felt like a game changer of an album. It just hit all the right notes.
Yes, it did. Everything came together in '86.
What happened for you? Did anything different happen for you, or was it just more an evolution?
Perseverance has a lot to do with it. Evolution compounded by the fact that all the people involved in that record were coming to some place together that changed all of our lives.
Here we are then, Bon Jovi. You didn't like it?
Not a Bon Jovi fan, I'm afraid, no.
It's not really my kind of thing. No.
No.
Obviously, commercially successful and you're adored. I never know where you are critically. Are you the darlings or are you...
No.
It just seems really ordinary, and the tune's just not good enough to lift it above the rest of the kind of American FM rock. They seem to have slid into just sounding like all the other groups.
For that critical, guy that would write something. I remember on the 4th album, which we called New Jersey, again, the reporter writing because Lou Reed had just made New York. Mm-hmm. And it would, and slagging the success of New Jersey, but how do you compare that to Lou Reed and New York?
Yeah.
2 different worlds.
Yeah.
I appreciated both, but I got it, and you're like, you're the one missing the point, mister. So, critical darlings, no.
Bon Jovi, pop band. Guns N' Roses,
That's a rock band.
that's rock band.
And did it ever bother you? That was,
Sure. I do remember you wanted to be on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
I'm now on the cover of Rolling Stone. All the girls talking to me about is, take that leather coat off, show us your shoulder. And you're like, this is weird, but okay. And the article is shite. And you really want to say to the writer, do you know what it took to get here?
Right, 100%.
You know how hard this is? And all they want to talk about is cute and hair and whatever the article was about, but it was demeaning. And you're brokenhearted by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the gatekeeper, no. For the masses, yes.
I mean, Slippery Red Wet was such a huge success, but you don't take a break. You make New Jersey yours straight away.
That was the work ethic / chip on your shoulder. We have to make sure that we show everybody we know how to do this now and can do it again. 1 year later, we're back on the road with a finished New Jersey with 5 more top 10 singles and we're back out there doing it again, which was exhausting.
Yeah. Happy exhausting at the time?
Yeah,
Or?
most definitely. It was that sweet spot of success where the flow came in the writing and the desire to be everywhere.
I can't even speak. I was gonna cry about 4 times. I was on stage, I'm looking at all the lights going by, and sliders and flash bulbs, and just a sea of people, planes.
Les
coming
Paul.
in.
That's Les Paul.
No way. Classic Bud in the shower.
Great show, man.
You were on tour for what? Basically 5 years, pretty much consistently.
Yeah. A lot of
No 2
memories
days
like
are the
that.
same, right?
Correct.
And you're
No
there
2
with
days.
all the tightest guys you're ever going to be with.
Right. Brazil. That's here. Everyone's going to jail. MCGH. We were experiencing all of this together. So that's why I say there's so much history that past members, previous members, present members lived all of this. How could there be anything but love?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my brother, Matt. That was the love, and that was the camaraderie, which really fueled the band. I don't think that there was a lot of conflict or anything at that time.
When did that change?
It wasn't until the end of it that we were physically exhausted.
They just went. All of a sudden, I had nothing. I had no drums, no vocals, no nothing.
We needed to get away from each other.
This was probably the worst show.
I brought it down, brother.
By the end of 1989, the band were at a breaking point, right?
Couldn't understand, because there was no fight. There was no argument. It was just like, I can't bear to be in a room with you. It's the same jokes, it's the same anecdotes, it's the same quirks. So we needed to get away from each other. You know, there was a long period of time where I was mad at that first manager and the agents and accountants and record companies for allowing us to get so physically and mentally burned out. But they really didn't take into consideration the physical toll it was taking on us. And that's the lessons, you know, that you need to learn, but you could pass on to that next generation.
Do you feel being the leader of the band, when you're in that apex and it's that bit and you see you're getting tired, can you say, as a leader of the band, guys, we're knackered here, or is it just not the done thing?
You could have, but I was more to blame because I was the one driving everyone so hard. And if anything, I should have been the one to be smart enough to say, go home. And I was not. So I, on more than one occasion, in the course of this 40 years, have screwed it up by pushing too hard.
Go away.
And did you put that down to the age you were, or or being where you were with your career, or?
Also the love of it.
Yeah. Forget that, don't you? You still love it.
The love of it. You know, just kept, you know, thriving and then striving to do better. I'm loving this. Why can't I do it again? Why can't I do it again? I could take the punch. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, let's just keep going. Not thinking about anyone's mental health at that time.
Including your own, I
considered.
suppose.
Oh, definitely, including my own.
Do you think those lessons are ever learned? Just as a
They can be. They're there to be
existential?
learned.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're going to repeat history, which so many have.
Unless someone goes,
Go home and go to bed.
yeah,
That happens.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you either figure it out and go forward, or you burn out, break up, and go home. It was horrible for all of us.
So you get back from tour. Physically, what kind of shape are you in?
I can tell you that I honestly remember driving down the Pacific Coast Highway with my wife driving to take me to see us shrink and thinking about if I just open the door and roll out, this would be a good time to do it. That's how exhausted I was mentally and physically. Couldn't get in an elevator, had a hard time getting on an airplane, all the claustrophobia, all the just exhaustion on a whole nother level. Yeah, almost killed us.
What gets you out of that?
Time. A couple years.
And distance? Like as
no real distance because I went right and did Young Guns.
So that's because the writer of the first Young Guns loved Wanted Dead or Alive.
Yeah. And I had the opportunity to meet Emilio because Richie was dating Ali Sheedy. And he said, I want to put Wanted in there. And I said, well, it's really not appropriate, lyrically. So let me have the script. I think I can do something. And I wrote Blaze of Glory, and then I went out to the set, and I enjoyed that so much that I had another opportunity to put Miracle in the film, and then I said, I'm going to write you a whole album.
I'm a devil on the run, a six-gun lover, a candle in the wind.
Did that give you the separation that you needed, Young Guns 2?
Confidence, too. If you're going through that period with Slippery and then New Jersey, and who made this rocket ship happen, how did it happen, you can't do it without this guy, that guy. So then I wrote that whole album.
And John, were you, at that time, were your juices just, were you exhausted? Or had you, yeah?
Yeah, but I was also seeking other creative outlets, which led to acting. And what I got out of acting was I had all the experiences of those first 4 and now 5 albums. I had all the celebrity that went with it, but I was starting completely from scratch by literally opening up the first book on how to become an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And then the humility of standing in the long line for an audition or begging an acting coach to even consider taking you on. So you started over again, and you were still you.
When you can just, if you strip back all the BS around it,
yeah,
and you almost feel like you're 23, 22,
you have
23.
To, because otherwise you're believing the hype, and you're obviously the decadence, the opulence is going to lead you down a path that's gotta be detrimental. So for me, that was an integral part of getting back into, what mattered the most, and that was the band.
So after 2 years, you guys got back in the room together.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I brought in basically professional help to assist in a way to verbalize to your friends that this was worth doing.
Yeah.
And what is it that I'm doing wrong? What is it that you're doing wrong? How can we go forward? Yes. And so bringing in an outsider who, in essence, was a mental health professional.
Kind of
genius.
Ahead of its time, really.
Yeah, definitely. So that was how we were able to face getting over our own bullshit. And I said, part of what we're going to do going forward was start over again and remember what gets you there in the first place. The core values that we had instilled in us as kids. One for all. And
yeah.
Hard work.
Bon Jovi have been away for quite some time. They're back with a brand new song. It's called Keep the Faith, and this is live by satellite from New York.
Was there a world where they weren't going to come back to the band?
I had to convince them that it was a worthwhile endeavor. It didn't take them too long, but when they did, they did. They really bought in.
First the band split up, then you went off to do some solo work. Now you're back together again. Are Bon Jovi together for good now?
The band is doing just fine, thank you. Yeah, the wacky English press sometimes has its field days with us, and the band never broke up, but we truly did go on a much-needed hiatus.
And did it gel that quickly?
Pretty quickly, yeah. What I remember are the silly things like Richie saying, you know, I want to go back to the basement where there's like blacklight posters hanging on the wall and lava lamps and lit candles. And I remember this very, very well. We were rehearsing in the basement of my home and lighting the candles and doing everything he wanted to do. And we're all getting very lethargic to the point I think it's boredom. And I'm like, jeez, there's no oxygen in the room. We were exhausted.
Open the doors.
The hell, you sons, turn the lights on, open the door, blow out the damn candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, let's get back. So we got to laugh at each other in those moments too, and reestablished faith in each other. We let go of our first manager, and I did the craziest thing ever. I said, don't need a manager. You know, we're going to start our own company, and I've got a vision for what this is. So that took faith, too.
Yeah.
To convince them that we could do this. And we did. It was unheard of.
How hard is that to start? Like,
it really was and it wasn't. You know, in the industry, in a world full of enablers, they were like, you can't do this without us. And from our perspective, it was like, not only can we, but we'll do it better, because who cares more than you?
Mm-hmm.
And, believe me, it took the right guidance. We had the right representation.
Yeah, you walk out of the meeting and go, well, we still have a good lawyer though, right?
We have a great lawyer.
Yeah. Coming back, in the time you've been away, the Seattle scene had come about. Did it feel like the world had moved on a bit from stadium?
The world had moved on. What was called the hair bands were all being shot off one by one. They all were making the big mistake of trying to emulate the Seattle sound and the look. So now you're chasing fads and fashions.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots. We were not at all interested. I knew I was just moving forward in my own evolution, but had no interest in that other thing.
Yeah.
Keep the Faith was a monster.
So this is Wembley, 95. It feels like the audience over here has always embraced you from mid-80s.
They've been kind, yes, most definitely, dating back to those first 4 and 5 records. We've had a very close relationship with the UK. A lot of history at Wembley, for example.
Can you remember those
Yes.
different gigs?
Of course. 3 nights in a row, 3-hour shows a night, and not even blinking.
That's incredible. Like, you always hear one stadium morphs into another stadium morphs into it. Does that happen to you guys?
Wembley. Wembley is special. This is the place where Live Aid happened.
Yeah.
This is the place where all the history of all those shows had happened. This was the pinnacle of greatness to be able to play in this building.
And in terms of where the band are now, are you just like in that great second act and you're feeling like
Yeah.
you're fighting fit and...
Yeah. I do remember conversations with the band at this time, and the Stones were always such an example of what longevity looked like. When you described a Rolling Stone record, you just said it's the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like the Stones. The evolution was to say, how does it sound like Bon Jovi?
Yeah.
Just to be us, that the sound is just us. And that was the extent of it, that work ethic from the 90s going forward, proving it over and over and over again. It was just smooth sailing and hard work for a long, long time. Then one day, you know, Richie didn't come back.
So you're halfway through a tour in 2013 and Richie leaves the band suddenly. What happened?
Nobody expected it. He had been in and out of, you know, rehab a couple times and wasn't, he was burned, he was tired, he was physically tired. And he literally just didn't show up at a show. And that was tough. We had a show that night. There's 20,000 people in the audience. The emotional gap of missing Richie's presence was deep, but you know, there's still no animos because of everything that we'd achieved together. To this day, there's no animos. Being in a rock band is not a life sentence. It's a career path, you know. And so that's why I say there's no animos, because of his, you know, his decision making led him down that different path.
Yeah.
You know, but doesn't mean that I don't appreciate everything that he did during the 30 years that he was doing it.
Yeah. All right, next clip.
I've been writing this speech since I first strummed a broom and sang them from the top of the stairs of my childhood home. I've actually written it many ways, many times. Some days I write the thank you speech, other days I write the fuck you speech. Writing it was in fact therapeutic for me in a lot of ways. I certainly see things differently tonight than I would have 10, 20, 30 years ago. And in the end, it's all about time. Because time is the most precious commodity we have. I thank my lucky stars for the time that I got to spend with each one of you. Tonight, the band that agreed to do me a favor stands before you so I can say thank you for making this dream a reality.
John, that's such a nice speech. Did you pen that a long time before? Like, did you know what you were going to say? I mean, that's
I wrote
thank
it.
you, not the fuck you, right?
The thank you and the fuck you. Oh yeah, I wrote that. It was a long time coming. The Rock Hall overlooked us for 9 years. So, in essence, I was upset with them for the longest time. But when we did get in, I appreciated it even more. And Richie had been out of the band for 5 years. We hadn't seen Alec really on the stage with us in 20 years. And yet they were all integral to the journey. So, you know, I carefully wrote that speech and took my time to get it right.
Yeah. But it's funny, isn't it? Because we touched on it earlier. You get to a point in your career, you're like, well, the people like me, the people don't like me. There's not much you can do about that.
To get in there was, the gatekeepers, as you'd say, you know, really were dictating who and what got in and when. It was hard. But then you had to start to just say, fuck it, beautiful. You had to say whatever you had to say the heck with it.
But a little part of you still wants that validation.
Sure you do. I'd be lying if I didn't. You know, definitely. And I really am proud of being in the Hall of Fame because, you know, somewhere in the deep recesses, you're thinking that your ghost gets to be in the room with Little Richard's ghost.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so the music's going to live on. And yeah, I know it's an accolade that is something to be very proud of.
Pictures that you left behind, the memories of a different life, some made us glad.
For that, of course, there's yet another twist in your story. Off the back of that, then, when did you start realizing you had issues with your voice? When was that? Was that then? Was that?
Yeah, it was starting now in this period. For whatever reason, one of the chords was literally atrophying. If both of your chords should look as thick as a thumb, one of them was as thick as a pinky. And the strong one was pushing the weak one around.
Were you at a point there where you were like, well, I've got to make peace with the fact I might not sing again, or I might sing differently? Or...
Oh, I was having to sing differently at that point. And I don't, you know, I can attribute it to my anatomy. I can attribute it to the psychological warfare that I've been through. But at this point, it was on my mind. It wasn't quite right.
And now you're having to work even harder every time you put on a show.
Oh, yeah. But then the compensation leads to a point where, like, you know, you're sort of walking like this and thinking that's normal. You get the surgery, now you have to learn how to walk upright again. So I'm in the process of rehabilitating it. There was a disappointment and a surprise at the same time.
Sure. Do you mind me asking, where are you with that at the moment?
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there. It's not quite there yet.
But will you go back to 3-hour rock and roll shows, or are you just going to now probably look after yourself and make sure you...
The desire is to get back to the 3-hour rock and roll show.
Wow, great.
And until then, I'm not willing to go on the road.
Yeah.
But I'm well along the process at this point.
Good. All right, one last clip. So, that's legendary. Albums forever. First time in 10 years you felt joy, I remember I just read.
True.
In what respect?
2020 was, I loved as an album, but it was written and recorded during a period that we were all in lockdown from COVID. So not a joyous time in the world. This House Is Not For Sale, a statement record. So again, not necessarily a joyous record. And in light of my health issues, certainly not a joyous period.
Yeah.
But post-surgery and during the recovery, and in essence, seeing these men who will sit in a room with me and help me in the recovery is an appreciation, even deeper appreciation for everyone and everything that's come along in these 40 years, and everyone's contributions throughout has gotten me to where I am today.
Yeah.
I got what I want because I got what I need, a fistful of friends that'll stand up for me.
Well, listen, I go back to gratitude, and the gratitude I have is for your graft and your craft and your brotherhood.
Thank you.
Are you just going to carry on? Are you just like, as in, you see how this goes, but whatever happens, you'll keep recording?
Whatever happens, happens. You know, I enjoyed the songwriting process very much, and I loved that it's a story that continues. Whether or not that I could do the 3-hour show in the stadium again is to be determined, but I wouldn't bet against me.
Yeah.
You know, it's coming. But that's up to God at this point.
I don't think anyone would bet against you, John. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
It's my